Welcome back to the channel, fellas. Today, I'm bringing you UMass and their 2019 season simulation. Let's check out how they do. We're going to go with the custom schedule. We've got every team on their schedule for 2019. It's not in the correct order, but we did get everyone on there. Their real schedule includes Rutgers, Southern Illinois, Charlotte, Coastal Carolina, Akron, FIU, Louisiana Tech, UConn, Liberty, Army, Northwestern, and capping off the season, BYU. We did manage to get some of these games in the correct slot, but we did end up capturing BYU at the end of the season. That way, just in case they're ranked at the end of the season, they'll play their toughest game, at least in my opinion, their toughest game at the end of the season. And BYU, they're at the end. Let's see how they do. We're going to kick off the simulation, and I'll cut through to the next part. We do see UMass get a pretty decent class overall. We simulated the schedule. We didn't do any of the recruiting. They do end up with a 73 overall strong safety. That's pretty decent. A couple of high 60s, a couple of low 50s, but overall, a pretty good class for UMass, I think. They did get 5 consecutive wins, 3 school records. I've never seen that. And they had a 14-point comeback victory. But to me, the big thing is the school records. I've never had 3 school records in one of these simulations before. So way to go, UMass. Let's check out the top 25, and then we'll get into the UMass specifically and look at their schedule. We see Stanford 12-0 at the top. Michigan 12-0, only 2 undefeateds. We got Miami, Wisconsin, West Virginia, and UCF. UCF and West Virginia, kind of a surprise here. I don't usually see them that high. We got NC State, Georgia, Penn State, Arizona, Washington, Alabama, Boise State, Purdue, USC, Ole Miss, Michigan State, Clemson, coming off a national championship game. Clemson and Alabama both losing multiple times. Texas, 10-2. What are they doing this low? There's several teams with less than 10 wins above them. Then you got some of the usual people, Auburn, TCU, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, Utah, and South Carolina. Both Oklahoma, Clemson, and Alabama, when we go back and look at them, number 12. All of them coming off the national championship hunt, college football playoff, and not winning the next season. Let's see what happened for UMass. They go 9-2. That's pretty good. Their team leaders, Comis, 224 for 347, over 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's a pretty good ratio. Young, 157 carries, 912 yards, 13 touchdowns. Receiving, pretty good. 927 yards on 67 catches and 6 touchdowns. Defensive, not as impressive. They must have spread the tackles around. Bezeko, 28 tackles, interceptions. We have Hayes with 2 and Flanagan Jr. 5 sacks on the season. Let's look at the schedule. We see they lose to Rutgers from the beginning, but they do go on a 5-game win streak over Florida International, UConn, Louisiana Tech. Northwestern barely beat Northwestern. They didn't have a good year, 4-8. They did beat an FCS team before losing to an FCS team by 10. Wow, that's not great. They did beat Army, Akron, another FCS team, and BYU to close out the season. They beat BYU, obviously not the best year for them, 6-6. But let's see who's leading in the Heisman race. And it's not someone from UMass. It's Love, Singletary, Finley, Higdon, and Harris. Some of the usual characters. You'll like to see FIU up there. Finley up there from North Carolina State as well. That's pretty cool. Let's check out the stats. We've got Comis, number 5 in the country. That's pretty good. Young, not quite as high, number 80. Isabella, 26. That's pretty decent for a leading receiver. Bezeko, low down there. They must have spread the tackles around all season. And then, of course, we've got Flanagan Jr. at 5.5 sacks. We've got Hayes with his 2 interceptions. And then for the kicking, we've got Caggiano. I'm sorry if I butchered the name. 42 yards, not a great long field goal, only good for 103rd in the country. Let's check out bowl season. Where will they go? First, let's check out the Heisman. Devin Singletary does win. 263 carries, almost 1,700 yards, almost 30 touchdowns, 29 touchdowns on the ground, 4 touchdowns receiving, 500 yards receiving. You do see him win a pretty tight race with Finley from North Carolina State. And UMass goes to the Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl against Washington State, 9-2 versus 7-5. They've got a good chance to win this. Let's see if they can. UMass does lose to Washington State, but let's see who won the national championship. It looks like Michigan. Michigan goes 14-0 and beats out Stanford for the national championship. I bet Wolverine fans would love to see this video. But let's see what happened in the UMass Bowl. UMass scores 21 in the first and loses the game. Wow, that's a heartbreaker. UMass accrues 344 yards overall, beats Washington State, 205 through the air, 139 on the ground. They do have a fumble, and that's it. They win the time of possession, but lose the bowl. If you've stuck around this long, thank you. Please comment, like, subscribe. I take feedback. I try to incorporate it. Peace.